Hello, Year 8. Today we are learning about the pay-as-you-go income tax system. So this PAYG stands for pay-as-you-go income tax. So this is the tax chart for 2025 and 2026, and this is how tax is calculated based on people's income. Every year, this chart is changed slightly, but the way that you use it remains the same. If you earn between $0 and $18,200, you will pay nil, which means no, none, nothing. You will pay nothing for tax, $0. If you earn between $18,201 and $45,000, you will have to pay 16 cents for every dollar that is over the $18,200. So you still get $18,200 without any tax, but then you have to pay 16 cents for every dollar over that. If you earn between $45,001 and $135,000, you have to pay $4,288 tax. Now that number is found by calculating the tax up to the $45,000. Okay, so that's done for you. You pay $4,288 in tax for that first $45,000 that you've earned. But then you must also pay 30 cents for every dollar over the 45,000. Then, if you earn between $135,001 and $190,000, you have to pay $31,288 in tax. That is for the lower end, so that's if you earned $135,000. But then on all the extra dollars that you earn over that, you have to pay 37 cents for every dollar over the $135,000. And the final tax bracket is for anyone over $190,001. You will pay $51,638 in tax straight away, plus 45 cents for every dollar over the 190,000. So by the time you're earning those large incomes over 190,000, you're losing 45 cents for every dollar that you earn in tax. Now, to calculate tax from this table, the first thing we should worry about is that these numbers here are all in cents. It's going to be much easier in our calculations if they are all in dollars. So 16 cents, if you divide that by 100, is 0.16 in dollars. 30 cents is 0.3, 37 cents is 0.37, and 45 is $0.45. Okay, so that will make things a little bit easier. So you're going to have questions like this one here in question 1. It says, use the tax table to calculate the annual income tax payable on a taxable income of $36,000. So $36,000 is between 18,201 and 45, which means that this line, that is the tax bracket that we are working with. So people with incomes in that tax bracket have to pay 16 cents, which we've already converted into dollars. So it's going to be $0.16 for every dollar over 18,200. So you want to times that by their income, but you want to subtract off the 18,200 that they don't have to pay tax on. So whatever that number is on the end, you always subtract that off their income. So 16 cents times their income minus the number on the end. If you put that in your calculator, you'll find that this person is going to have to pay $2,848 in tax. Okay, next, let's have a look at the next question. We want to find the tax paid on an income of $15,000. Now, $15,000 is less than the $18,200. If you earn less than that $18,200, you do not pay any tax. So this is the nicest question you'll get, because as soon as you see that number, you're going to say they pay $0 in tax. Done. Question C, 124,600. So 124,000 is between the 45,000 and the 135,000. They have to pay 4,288. So down here, 4,288 plus, because we follow along what it says here, 4,288 plus 30 cents, which we know is 0.3, times by the number of dollars over 45,000. So this is where we do their income, which was 124,600, and we subtract off that number on the end, which this time is 45,000. So that makes $28,168 in tax. So it's good to have a tax table next to you when you're doing them, so you don't have to keep scrolling around and finding that tax table all the time. So let's have a look at the next one. The next income was $155,800. That is between the 135 and the 190,000. So this person is going to pay 31,288. 31,288 plus 37 cents, which we know is our $0.37, times by their income minus the number on the end, which is 135,000. So that is $38,984 in tax. Okay, so that's the main type of question that you need to be able to do. Question 2 adds a couple of extra things that we want to find, including the Medicare levy. So George has a taxable income of $85,000. First of all, we want to find his income tax, which means we're using that tax table. So let's have a look at the 85,000. 85,000 fits into this third bracket here. So it's 4,288 plus 0.3 times the income minus 45,000. So let's write that down. A lot of scrolling to try and see that table. We have 4,288 plus the 0.3 times the income minus the number on the end. So that is $16,288 in tax. Part B says to calculate George's Medicare levy. The Medicare levy from last lesson we learned was 2% of the income. 2% means 2 over 100 times by the 85,000. That is $1,700 in Medicare. Part C, calculate George's total tax for the year. So that is adding the two things together, because we have our tax from our tax table and our Medicare levy, which is also another tax because everyone has to pay that as well. So we want to add those, 16288 plus the 1700, which means a total of 17,988 in tax. Let's do another question like that. Trevor earns a gross wage of $772.77 per week, 70 cents per week. So if that's per week, if I'm going to be working out tax, I'm going to need to know that per year. So the gross pay for the whole year will be $772.70, and I will times that by 52, which is going to be a total of $40,180.40. Okay, so now we want to calculate the pay-as-you-go tax that is deducted by his employer. And it says in there, don't forget the Medicare levy, so we want to do that one as well. So let's do our income tax first from our tax table. On a $40,000-ish income, where does that fit in our tax brackets? It's going to fit into this second one. It's going to be $0.16 for everything over 18,200. So back to the question. We need to pay 16 cents, so 0.16 times his income, his yearly income, which is why we had to calculate that first, minus the 18,200 that he gets tax-free. So that is a total of $3,516.86. Okay, we also want the Medicare levy. So Medicare is always 2%, so 2 over 100, times by the annual pay, which is $40,180.40. That is $803.61. So finally, I can finish my question because the question was calculate the amount of tax this person is paying, which is going to be, so I'm going to say total tax is going to be his income tax plus his Medicare levy, which is a total of $4,320.47. That was quite a big question because there was 4 different things there that we had to calculate. Okay, so this is the last exercise in our chapter, so you need to finish off the rest of the pages in your booklet.